or to continuing to respond to comments. And this is another one of those really, it didn't have to be controversial videos, but I'm Dan and I wanted to title it a certain way. And so I titled the video, "Does Lana Del Rey Get Criticized Too Much?" And in the video, we proceed to just criticize Lana Del Rey. And this was in the case where there's this whole controversy in, I want to say, around this time last year. It's like spring, more or less. And
yeah, I would say that
Lana Del Rey was being criticized because she had said that, "I don't want to make an album like all of these female rappers who are overly sexual and things like that, because that's not feminism." And she was trying to basically assert one version of feminism over someone else's, which is against how feminism works. Like
that's not the point.
There's multiple waves of feminism. This is neither the podcast, and I'm not the host to explain that. But the modern feminism, I think most people can get behind, is what women want to do with themselves is like agency that they have, and there is no monolithic idea of what women should be or how they should behave, right? Like, just because you have one woman who finds like femininity in like wearing makeup and getting dressed, and one woman who doesn't find that like femininity in that, doesn't mean that one version of femininity is better than the other, is sort of how to speak that.
It's all arbitrary.
Yes. And so again, we're not the best ones to explain that. If you really want like feminist theory, go fucking somewhere else on YouTube. But like, that's all the point to say that Lana Del Rey was trying to assert one version of feminism above above someone else's, other black women's, by the way. And then she kind of backpedaled and said, no, I'm big fans of these artists. I didn't mean to say anything wrong or negligent. But this goes into a history of Lana Del Rey trying to over-assert herself in some social justice issue when she doesn't need to, when she can just, be quiet. And then she steps in it and then gets mad at people for criticizing her, because if you're going to talk online from a platform, people are then going to give their opinion of what you said from that platform.
Yep.
So
Yep.
A lot of what we were saying is just like, okay, Lana Del Rey is not good at handling criticism, so she just needs to redo her entire strategy, because if it's going to be this lashing out against people for criticizing her thing, it's going to be a spiral, and it's starting to bleed into the quality of her music. But like, there are also, I have to watch the video again. I don't think we were saying necessarily that Lana Del Rey is a racist, like, personally.
No.
Yeah.
But basically, more or less, and this has been, history of her saying stupid stuff. She just needs to learn to just think before she speaks, basically, is what it is. She keeps talking on subjects and stuff that she doesn't quite comprehend, understand necessarily, and it comes off really bad, a bad look for her. And this has been multiple times, has it? We're not calling her racist, we're not calling her that. We're not saying that she needs to have more people of color on that album cover or whatever. It's just, she is in a bubble, and someone needs to pop that bubble so she can, expand her horizons and understand more. And that's the issue. And her stands don't understand that either, where you're in this little bubble, you're in this nice little white picket fence bubble and everything, and that bubble needs to be popped, because it's very, very narrow version and view of the world.
Yeah, or even not pop, just at least have the self-awareness that like you are in a bubble, you are going to be blind to certain things. And so when people have a negative reaction to you, know that, oh, that's the self-awareness that there might be something I'm not getting, so I should hear them out, versus having a negative reaction.
And everybody is, has a limit to their own self-awareness too. Everybody does, you and me both. So like, that's one thing, but we're here to help you, because it's one thing, when we did not like Chemtrails or the Country Club, it was a pretty bland album and stuff. Like, we didn't like it. Granted, Jack Antonoff produced it, so that's gonna get you at the end of the day. Two songs that sound exactly the fucking same from two different artists, but whatever. But then, when Blue Banisters came out a few months later, we actually said that's a decent record. We both really liked it and gave her the credit that she is due at that. So there's that.
Yeah, I think we, I'm not going to hold the commenters to not being able to see our Blue Banisters review in the future, right? But I think that I think we held like good to that point. And so like one of the commenters, we did a kind of a weird thing where I guess we talked about the comment before responding to it, or like acknowledging it, but like we responded to it without acknowledging it, is what I'm trying to say. But Tangerine said, "Hey, I noticed there aren't any Asian people on the cover. Can we make another scandal about that, please? The shit people preoccupy themselves with, and God forbid the person on the receiving end of the bullcrap tries to defend themselves." else. Also, think you need some diversity on your podcast, some Native Americans or Indians or Syrians. Why don't you throw one in every time, just for balance, you know? First of all, that's Sean erasure because he is Native American.
Asshole.
Yeah. Second of all, we've had
Pueblo.
yeah.
That's the only reason why my skin is dark at all.
Real talk.
Real talk. When it's summer and I get dark, that's the only reason why it's from that.
Yeah, but like, not even to like answer this seriously, but I think all the time about the fact that, yeah, I started this show with my best friend, and so there are inherent biases in that. And so when I have co-hosts on, that usually reflects different biases. They're of different life experiences, different. Yeah, sometimes that means different gender expression. Sometimes that means different race. So when I can do that balance, I try to. If you want even more of that balance, there's a show called Power Report you may or may not have heard of that you could also check out. Yes. But yeah, mostly what we said at that beginning there. Like, you don't need to have your cover be like diverse or whatever, but if it is in the context of you having racial blind spots and then someone's pointing this out and thinking of why you might have these racial blind spots, then this goes back to think before you speak.
Exactly. And that was my whole point.
Yeah.
Just think before you speak. I mean, we have to do it all the time. I have to do it on here a lot.
Yes. There's another comment, Spawnies, that says, there's way more important issues than this. Lana wanted to have an album cover of her friends and family. I don't think she needs to have friends of every race for her to be POC friendly. I really don't know why people are making such a controversy out of it. They are seriously bored at calling Lana racist as a stretch. And again, I'm glad we responded to the comment before actually reading it, because a lot of what we said, I think, applies there. Yeah. So there are more important issues than this, of course, but
we were reading a story on it anyways, and that's what we do in the podcast.
I mean, like, and one of those like philosophical sort of things where I go like, well, technically everything on YouTube is a reaction video, right? Like I have created the space where if I want to talk about, and Sean and I want to talk about real like important issues in the world, we have a podcast for that. It's called Power Report. It's at youtube.com/Dan for the internet. You can check it out. It's great. It's great all the time. And if we want to talk about things that are frivolous and dumb, celebrity gossip news, we have Audioface for that. And we can also talk about music news and culture and all that kind of stuff. And so people can walk and chew gum at the same time. Also, everything else we said applies.